Hello there, you are listening to The Screen Queen, where you'll be finding your favorite movie or your favorite television show and learning something new. You'll just have to listen to find out. Here is your host, Samantha Parrish. Hello there and welcome back to the show. As always, my name is Sammy Parrish and you are listening to The Screen Queen. So, funny enough, I had already recorded an episode for Trailer Time covering How to Train Your Dragon, but wouldn't you know it, time got actually the rest of me, and I was not able to beat it before the premiere came out. So, I had to scrap the episode and come up with a new one, and this is another film that I've been wanting to talk about because this might be the first remake in a while that I'm like okay with, because we have a lot of remakes coming out, guys. We already had Lilo and Stitch, and that was so horrible. I can't even go into detail except make that noise. How to Train Your Dragon, as I just mentioned, and I've heard mixed things, so we're moving and grooving in our summer remakes. And the third one that's coming out, The Naked Gun. Yeah, I'm really excited for that one. So for those that have never seen the Naked Gun series, I'm going to give you a little rundown of it. So it follows a guy named Frank Drebin as he gets into the most bizarre ways to solve cases. It's supposed to be like a parody on the way you see most detectives that are very distinguished and serious and reserved, and that made fun of everything that you'd see in the crime movies. It was such a nice palate cleanser to see someone make fun of a serious genre, and to be done by Leslie Nielsen, who was a very dramatic actor and then transitioned to comedy and still used those dramatic performances with great comedic delivery. Like, that man was a magic card in Hollywood. The way that the Naked Gun series has aged today, it's aged a lot like wine, but it's also treated like a time capsule because a lot of its jokes almost seem that they need to exist there. We're in a very different stance with comedy now when we reassess ones from like the 80s and 90s, and this does kind of have a blend of 80s and 90s since it was originally written in 1982 and then finally gave it its big film debut in the 90s. So that entire age range is still being refiltered today. That it's not being condoned, but it's also not being excused. So with a film like that has a kind of humor that you'd really have to be very careful about, the writing seemed that it was there for the trailer. So in the trailer, it feels to be like it's something straight out of the Naked Gun series. It's a little girl going into a bank robbery and oh my gosh, what do you know? The Girl Scout is actually Frank Drebin Jr. Yes. That's kind of what makes this start to question if it's a remake or a long-awaited sequel when they put in Frank Drebin Jr. because it technically is called The Naked Gun. It's not like The Naked Gun 937 because, they don't follow numbers, and I'm glad they don't. But it does address everything. Like, okay, it feels like it's more of the universe, and we're seeing that the apple truly did not fall far from the tree. Excuse my, I'm falling over my words. And then after he thwarts the whole thing and shows off his strawberry underwear, I'm never going to have an image out of my head for the rest of my life. But that image alone, I'm like, yep, that's Naked Gun. And then we cut to Frank in a line of detectives that are all honoring their dad. Like, they give me deadpan with a cop cliche. Oh my goodness, it was hilarious. But I didn't expect this cliche to also answer the question, what are they going to do about O.J. Simpson? We all know the O.J. jokes. I don't feel like I have to go into it, but I think they may have made the best O.J. Simpson joke in the history of O.J. Simpson's jokes. They have what was presumably Detective Nordberg's son, and he just shakes his head. I couldn't catch my breath from so much laughing. Everything in that trailer is exactly the way The Naked Gun was presented. That era of writing is presented today, and it feels like they did their homework to make sure that it aged well to today's standards. And I kind of wondered, well, man, why is this thing looking so great so far? And then I saw it was written by Seth MacFarlane, and I went, that makes sense. So with Seth MacFarlane, you're going to love him, or you're really going to hate him, or you just tolerate him. And that's the three ways I've seen Seth MacFarlane be translated. I have a lot of friends that have a die-hard hatred for Family Guy because of his humor. It's not bad, but if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. I've liked a lot of Seth MacFarlane's films. He's not my favorite, but I can tell the man is dedicated. And it does need to be said that there's been a lot of projects that is thanks to him that has gotten off the ground, because he does have some Hanna-Barbera roots of that old school way of writing. This man was one of the writers for Johnny Bravo. And eventually when he got into do movies like Ted and Million Ways to Die in the West, Ted 2, the series, The Orville, like, the man definitely knows how to present a show of a nostalgic factor. And The Naked Gun does feel like it's definitely right up his alley, so I'm not surprised that this is wholly his involvement. But knowing that he knows how to write that era, it makes the film feel more solid as a remake, and also solid as a sequel. But then there's the main guy himself that's leading this franchise into a new millennium, Liam Neeson. So, for one, I'm for it, because it does fit the bill of having a very serious actor to deliver comedic bits. But here's the other thing. The world hasn't exactly forgotten about his very damning interviews. Usually 9 times out of 10, if I see a video that pops up about, like, career-ruining interviews, his face is the thumbnail, and it still keeps showing up. So the world hasn't forgotten about it. And now with him going into The Naked Gun, this could go one of either ways. This could go really good or really bad for his career. But with him being in the film, I can see why he's there. As I mentioned, Seth MacFarlane is the writer of this film. And Liam Neeson has also been in Seth MacFarlane films. He was the one in Ted, famously doing the "Are these tricks for kids?" bit. And then A Million Ways to Die in the West, which one of the not damning interviews where he wanted to be an Irish villain in a Western because that hasn't been done before. And he's like, I'm Irish, let's do it. So this will be another collaboration with Seth MacFarlane, and oh boy, I really, really hope this is going to be great, because for some strange reason, anytime he is under Seth MacFarlane's direction, the man gets good comedic timing. Again, it's given a little bit of hope for this film. This is a film that does have a very big legacy to uphold. There's a lot writing on this for people that have loved this type of comedy, or they loved Leslie Nielsen, or they like Liam Neeson, they want to see him get a good redemption role. There are many ideas about how this could go, and so far from what we've seen, it looks really good. Another bit that I'm excited for that I thought I'd never say in my life is Pamela Anderson. So she will be the new female face in the Naked Gun series in this installment of The Naked Gun. And before that had mostly been in the realm of Priscilla Presley, who was the female counterpart to Frank Drebin. And Pamela Anderson, the girl was in Borat, so she knows how to take a good, dark, dirty joke. This thing opened up with an O.J. Simpson joke. I think she's going to do very well in this movie with the way that its humor goes. And lately, she's been on a really good streak, getting in the projects that she wants to be in. And, for as long as she's wanted to be, she's always wanted to be in the movies. She did so many things, and it's nice to see that she's finally getting the credit that she deserves, and I'm excited to see her. So one last thing I was thinking about, we don't get too many crime movie remakes. And at this point, we've already had discussions of some being remade, some that have already came out that should have never been remade. They're a tough sell. But since this is The Naked Gun, where it's a comedy crime movie, that does have a little bit more of an edge to it. that's what makes it a classic. It was willing to work out of the bounds in two different genres, and now satire or crime can't exist without the Naked Gun being mentioned in either of those genres. But when you think of this as just a crime movie, that's not too common to get down the line of it being remade. It's something that's mostly either untouchable or not even going to be attempted. And, well, Seth MacFarlane said, try me. But still, like, you don't really see too many of those remade, and I wonder if that is going to revitalize a little bit of the crime genre. Like, we all love our true crime stuff, but whenever we think of, like, crime movies, like, they're not really too well made. And with this being a film that's going to exist in 2025, where, oh boy, it's going to be 10 times different than it was in the 90s and the 80s, that'll be an interesting translation. So, I don't know, man. I guess time will tell to see if this is going to be a good beginning or, once again, an ending to it all, just slapping that wheelchair with O.J. Simpson and walking to go down the stairs. Another thing. All right, one more thing before I go. So I thought about this. I wonder, there's been some things coming about OJ since his passing away, and I wonder if this film happened at the time that it did after OJ Simpson died. Now, I don't know how much of this film had any involvement with his life afterwards, since everything was one big legal issue after another when he got out of prison and before death. But when he died, he said that there are things that his family should not say, and his family went on to thus say, we are under an oath that we cannot say something about his career. But I wonder if the Naked Gun is gonna have anything to do about that. Like, we already had a OJ joke right there. There's gotta be more things in the oven for this movie that they're about to commentate on, like glossing it over where they're not going to get in trouble, but come on. This is definitely an opportunity to do what the internet has already been doing and using this film to make fun of O.J. Simpson. I don't know how O.J. Simpson felt about, like, the Naked Gun series, like, post-trial or pre-trial. That I haven't seen any of that mentioned. It's just, he's the guy in the Naked Gun series. This is kind of the time to let some more things out, and I wonder what Seth MacFarlane might do with the concept, since he has made fun of O.J. Simpson before, so I'm sure he's cracking his fingers like, let daddy get to work. But yeah, that's kind of all my thoughts that I have about the Naked Gun remake, and if you would like to share your thoughts about it, I'd love to hear it. Hit me up at the Queen of the Screen. And I always mention this, but if you're looking for an easier way to listen to your Media Queen, I am available on YouTube, and I'm also available on Spotify now. I keep forgetting to mention that. But anyway, y'all take care, stay amazing, please stay cool, it is really humid out there. This is your Screen Queen, signing off. Bye-bye!